Hello and welcome to the new episode of the Sibs, only on YouTube on Active TV. And today, what are we doing, Sasha?
That is not a proper... That was like...
A cockney.
Yeah, that was more cockney. We are going to be looking at 19 of the most iconic looks from the Queen.
Yes, and since we're honouring all the...
Don't do it. Just don't do it. So obviously Queen Elizabeth has passed away. So we thought we would just dedicate an episode. She was a fashion icon. I would just like to state that.
I haven't seen any of her outfits, so I don't know.
I don't know if you're like... I respect...
I don't know if I like her outfits. We have a very different fashion style.
So let's get into this. This is Vogue going through 19 of her most iconic
Since
looks.
1932.
To now.
Hectic.
Hello, I'm Hamish Bowles.
Oh, hello, Hamish
I'm
Bowles.
delighted to be joining you today to bring
We are
you a
definitely
very special
delighted.
19 looks celebrating the enduring style of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
His beard is interesting. His moustache.
Here she is with her younger sister, Princess Margaret, of course.
Oh, she's very young.
Princesses Elizabeth and Margaret are wearing glittering gold tissue fancy dress
Fancy.
But in everyday life, they were dressed in identical clothes. That was the fashion in upper class.
They really did have identical
At that
clothes.
point, they would have these sprigged Liberty print dresses and stiff little
This was
coats.
the 1930s, though.
In Scotland, they'd wear kilts with a sort of twin set that picked out the brightest colour in the tartan of the kilts. Fast forward to young Princess Elizabeth in 1947 in the white drawing room of the State Apartments at Buckingham Palace, announcing her engagement.
It's okay.
I believe
She
she's
looks-
wearing a dress here by
she
Edward
looks
Cullen.
elegant.
Thank you.
Those were sort of
She really does look nice,
inventions,
though.
I think. Well, here we have the Queen on her actual
Wedding
wedding day,
day.
of course. It's an
Hectic.
extraordinary dress designed by Norman Hartnell, who was one of the leading London couturiers at the time. Here he was inspired by Botticelli's celebrated painting Primavera.
Oh, my living
What
soul.
he's done, which is rather marvellous, is that the dress, which is a stiff ivory Duchess
The veil was
satin,
pretty.
has these little
Not the dress.
cutouts of blossoms, and those cutouts are taken out of the fabric and appliqued onto the tulle veil, which has ears of wheat for prosperity and suggestion of fecundity, dare I say. The Botticelli effect is slightly mitigated by the rather stiff quarterback shoulders, but this is 1947 and London couture hadn't quite caught up with Dior's very new-fledged new look. They had the example of Wallace Simpson, who of course had absconded with King Edward VIII and forced them into this position that they hadn't exactly been trained for or were expecting,
That's hectic.
and gave them a sort of wariness of ever looking too fashionable or chic. So of course Britain
They
at
weren't
this
allowed
point
to
was
look too
emerging
fashionable.
from
They weren't celebrities, they're the royal family,
there
so...
was still fabric rationing, and
Oh, and there was
women
the World
all
War II,
across
so there's fabric
Britain
rationing.
sent in their ration books so that the Queen could have the fairy tale wedding dress that they might have wished
She has
for
lived through so
themselves.
much. She lived through
This
so
is
much.
the Queen
On a
on
coronation.
her
Okay,
coronation
there she
day.
actually looks good.
You know, her
She looks like a
father
proper
died
queen.
very young.
Stunning.
For the dress,
She was 25, I think.
Norman Hartnell wanted to take the flower emblems of the four countries that make up Great Britain. He was rather disappointed to discover that it was a leek for Wales. So he lobbied that one, and eventually they could substitute the leek for a daffodil. Here we are at
she
Buckingham
looked nice,
Palace.
yeah.
And this is a really...
They replicated this dress in the
Of
crown.
course, you have President Kennedy and Jacqueline
I
Kennedy.
don't know.
the
I
First
don't like the
Lady.
top of the dress. The
Jacqueline Kennedy is
princess
wearing,
look is stunning, but the top of the dress,
Copy of a
I
Givenchy dress by
I
Shane
feel like
Warne,
that
which was the
silver dress is prettier.
high-end
Well, Jackie
line for
Kennedy,
line,
you see, Jackie
New
Kennedy could have been
establishment
fashionable
that copied
because she wasn't
Empress
royalty.
Her
She was just the first,
Parisian
not just the
dresses,
first
so
lady,
could
but she
be
was the first lady.
wearing French style in principle, but of course flying the American flag so she could have her cake and eat it. The Queen, by contrast, is dressed more sort of pragmatic and less kind of theatrical. Oh, that's fun. This is Queen Elizabeth. She must be at a Royal Variety performance.
I think she looks nice.
I think that is on the left. And of course she's in full
She looks elegant.
Norman Hartnell splendour. Again, you see this kind of starburst
I love the white
embroidery.
gloves. Like that's something I aspire to have one day. So pair of white
Favorite
gloves.
part of it is the puffiness.
Watchers and fashionistas might recognise that this is a dress that was fashionably upcycled by Princess Beatrice on her wedding.
Oh, that's that's
grandmother,
stunning.
So she
borrow
wore
a
the
dress,
exact
and this
dress.
is the one
And then she just
that
added
they
sleeves.
settled on, elegantly transformed.
That's
And of
cute.
course, it was a wonderful gesture. Of course, a great homage to her grandmother, and
That's nice.
a lovely sort of timeless wedding dress. In fact. Oh yes, here we have the Queen side saddle for the trooping of the
Hey,
colour.
she did side saddle.
She's so
gangster.
much of
You know,
the Queen.
watching all of this reminds me of
perhaps all
Princess
of it
Diaries.
is
Princess
in a
Diaries.
way
Because
considered
Princess Diaries
a
is all
uniform.
about the
Military
dresses, the
uniforms
side
she wears
saddling,
are
the life of a queen and
enshrined
princess.
historic
So
precedent.
all of these different looks are reminding me very much of that movie.
Here we have the Queen in 1969, clearly not embracing London in the swinging 60s. She's at a meal with Princess Anne and Prince Charles and her husband. This is a still from a BBC documentary, which was the initiative of
They're
Prince
dressed
Philip.
so
He thought
smart.
it would sort of humanise
Yeah.
the royal
Fortunate.
family to let British television in to film
She looks
their
like-
lives.
She was living in the
fact,
70s.
I think
The
the royal
hairstyle,
family worked better
dress
shrouded in
code.
mystery and
She was
mystique,
very elegant, though.
revealed as a somewhat ordinary family living in an extraordinary way. I've just noticed that rather marvellous Stubbs painting on the wall behind them at
Wow.
breakfast.
I definitely would not pay attention to that, but
19. This.
Here we are at Balmoral,
Look at the
in
Queen.
No, I'm not
Scotland.
feeling it.
No, but think
Um,
about it.
where the Queen
No,
goes,
I feel it.
no.
every summer for
You would rock
holiday.
this. I'm not feeling this
And
look. Like,
I think
no.
she's much more in her
The
element.
horse.
She is
Yeah.
in her element.
In
That's horse.
traditional
That's riding,
riding
clothes,
clothes, of
though.
course.
But I love
And
the. Oh no, I love this look.
Silk headscarf that she's made.
I love
so
it.
When I think of the
Iconic.
riding thing, I think of a beautiful little plait.
Goodness
No.
me.
And
This is the Queen in 1976
elegant, but
at
no.
the Royal Ascot races. This is the one occasion where the Queen feels free to sort of embrace fashion up to a point. She's sort of
Was this
embracing a
fashion in
style
that time?
statement, I guess, with these sort of flame red accents. Perhaps not
I
her
think
finest
so.
sartorial hour. Here's the Queen on beaming form with her corgis. She has to be
She loved
always
her corgis.
visible in a crowd, and you know she's diminutive stature. And the solution that her couturiers came up with, which was a brilliant one, is that she would be in a really singing colour and a dramatic
That
hat
colour's
in
nice.
the same colour. So
Oh,
that
this-
even
That's
in a
very pretty. That
crowd
outfit
of
is
hundreds
pretty.
or thousands of people, she's going to stand out as this little kind of beacon of colour in the middle of them all.
She did
I was
make a very
struck with the
colourful,
incredible exhibition of the
like,
Queen's
suit
clothes
dresses.
at Buckingham
Yeah.
Palace, and they'd been
Oh, wow.
arranged in this sort of rainbow of shades, dozens and
What is
dozens
this?
of ensembles.
Buckingham Palace, isn't it?
And you saw that really she's sort of worn everything apart from perhaps grey and beige.
I saw an Instagram post where they said the
What
Queen
you don't
said
see here is
you
the
won't
one
see
neck
her
and
if
the
she
top
wears
is
beige.
an incredible.
So she obviously didn't like wearing like neutral colours. So that's why she was always in like blue or green or pink or orange.
And here, of course, the Queen in a sort of a very strident shade of kind of slightly turquoise blue, and of course, you know, the moment she steps out onto the balcony, she's going to be immediately recognisable.
This one looks
Wow.
interesting.
This is Her Majesty really
Hey!
going for it.
I
This is the Royal
like
Variety
it.
Performance in 1999, and she's certainly giving us a bit of variety here.
I actually like
very
that.
She looks nice.
Cool. She actually looks
choice.
really cool.
Because of course, what we've seen for decades is this sort of head-to-toe solid colour look. So
I never
suddenly to
thought
have
she ever
this kind
dressed
of
like this.
Harlequin effect is rather splendid.
She actually looks really nice. She embraced fashion,
Totally
yeah.
unexpected.
It's impressive.
Oh, I love this shot. This is an unusual candid of the Queen
His
sort of
smile,
cracking up
that's
because
cute.
her husband has to stand
Oh,
to
that's her
attention.
husband.
of
She's
course,
like-
in his
Oh, God.
uniform,
No, it's
in
it
the
was
presence of his
Prince
monarch.
Philip.
And again,
Is she
you know,
laughing
yet
at him?
I
another
think so.
strident turquoise blue, and the hat, of course, matched exactly to the colour of the coat. And the fabric used for the binding of the collar has been used in greater amplitude for the upper brim of the hat. And again, you know, if you look at images of Princess Elizabeth as a young girl, she's wearing coats that look pretty much exactly like this.
And hats. She always wore
So
hats.
from the beginning, the monarch has worked with her couturiers and, in this instance, milliners, to create clothes that are a complement to the host nation on her global
she actually does
tours.
do that.
She knew there was going to be a photo op in front
Those
of
dresses, they
the
just
iconic
look
Sydney
stunning.
Opera House, and you
They
can
were
see
stunning.
that the
That's
hat has
stunning.
been designed to complement just that. This is the Queen back in the white drawing room at Buckingham Palace. Here she is in the extraordinary inky blue silk velvet cape of the Order of the Garter, worn over
I think she looks nicer.
That's
She looks regal.
Yeah.
damask evening gown, and looking every inch the Queen. This is absolutely a defining image of the monarch. Oh my goodness me, I remember this moment. It was absolutely extraordinary. This was the then very young designer Richard Quinn's fashion show during London Fashion Week.
She went to London
There
Fashion
were
Week.
3 seats at the end of
course.
the runway, just where the girls
Well, you
would
are
be
the
coming
Queen
out,
of London. Why would you
had
not be
been
at Fashion Week?
reserved, and they were being very, very jealously guarded. I couldn't help but notice. Anyway, there was this absolutely electrifying moment when we'd all sat down. I think there might even have been a tannoy announcement asking us to sit down, and, you know, which is standard in a fashion show that's about to start. So we all sat down, and then, quite incredibly, the Queen appeared. Her Majesty was about to present the inaugural Queen Elizabeth II Award for British Design, which is why she was there.
You
Richard
can
was
see
going to
her
be
stuff
the
was made to
recipient, and
perfection. Like every stitch was
I
just
just
quality.
cannot tell you how electrifying it was to be in this room. And she walks in, and, you know, there's this incredible aura and magnetism exuded because of who she is and her role and one's respect for her. So it was quite incredible. She sat down next to Anna Wintour. I remember Richard Quinn had done this incredible collection that was all these different sort of 1950s scarf prints morphed onto a kind of Lee Bowery 80s performance.
It's so cool though. It's so
Oh
artistic.
gosh, well says. I'm just like, it's weird.
I believe did admire some of the prints. This is Her Majesty in 2021.
She looked nice.
The colour's nice.
Windsor. Now that I think about it, it's quite extraordinary because it really is exactly what she was wearing as a young girl. You know, the flower-sprigged dress, the very formally tailored A-line coat, unbelted, a matching hat that's been very carefully and scrupulously colour coordinated to match the ensemble. Here we have this unusually heartwarming
looks
image
nice.
of Her Majesty the Queen. Of course, celebrates one of her very great passions. She is surrounded by 2 of her beloved fell ponies. There's symbolism in the Queen's clothes, which of course are often designed symbolically to convey messages. Even in this informal photograph,
Yeah,
she's
that
wearing a
outfit's
coat
pretty
of
cute.
Edinburgh green, the colour of her late husband Prince Philip's livery, and thus of course a very resonant and personal and poignant choice.
Shame.
If there's something we can all learn from Her Majesty the Queen, it's perhaps this idea of finding a style that works for you very early on and sticking with it. It's been an absolute joy to
There you go.
revisit Her Majesty's lifetime in looks, and I want to express my appreciation for her contribution to the job and to style.
I agree with him. Find something that works. I actually like the fact that her style,
Never changed.
yeah, like the fact that even as a young girl, and I mean, she was the queen. Do you understand what I'm saying? She could have done anything, but she stayed true to who she was. And even in that position,
I think my favorite looks were the princess dresses, whole princess look with the tiara, and then obviously definitely that like disco type of fashion dress. That
I
she
liked her riding gear just because it took someone who was so big and iconic and so idealized. Do you understand what I'm saying? It took the crown and showed an ordinary person with an
Who loves
ordinary
horses.
passion. Yes, and just she loved doing that. She was in her element. She was in her element.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I also like those outfits.
I think when you were watching the news and they were even looking like over the different years of her life, they actually showed her passion for horse racing.
No, she loved horses. She loved horses.
And like run to go and see him. So that was pretty cute. But yeah, no, obviously you could see she has like people who know how to tailor things and how to make things. So everything of hers was made with complete perfection. But her princess looks were my favorite.
I think it's so cute that Beatrice took her a dress that she wore and made that her wedding dress. Like that's beautiful. So this has been 19 most iconic looks of Queen Elizabeth II.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of our
tribute.
And
ergo, we are leaving now. Subscribe, like, peace.